No, we're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Kuf Pei and Vayal Moshe, and I'm talking about how the Zionim used the Derech Baal Shem Tov to disguise their things, and they pretend to be following the Derech Baal Shem Tov, even Lamas Chusan Yidden, and say that everyone's good. Yeah, Be'akash Shatz. So this is a dimion from the time of Shabbos Tzvi's movement. Hayu Mis'atfim B'Zohar HaKadosh. They used to use the Zohar and Kabbalah as a front for what they were doing to disguise their real intentions. And they used the Kisvei Ari, v'talu bohem ma'aseim, and they pretended to be following them. Why? Ki yesh b'soichem dvarim nistarim, that there's some things that are difficult to understand in the Kisvei Ari. There are like Kabbalistic concepts that most people don't understand. Shalav kol moiches savilda, most brains can't tolerate it, and therefore they could say what they want and get away with it. Nobody would know whether they're saying real Kabbalah or Kfira. It says Al kein hayal lahem makom yoser l'ziyuf. They had a more of a room for falsification, b'divreim es shikreim, to take them and write Kabbalah texts and falsify it and make it sound like it was real Torah and really it's Kfira. And that's really what happened. Nasan Hazasi, the one who was the prophet of Shabbos Tzvi, wrote books about Kabbalah, which to the layman maybe looked like regular Kabbalah books. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to tell that it was Kfir. Now, the Apikorsim, the Zionim of today, Mis'atfim b'derech HaBaal Shem Tov. They pretend to be following the Derech Baal Shem Tov, because nobody really knows what is the Derech Baal Shem Tov.
He never wrote any sefer. That's a problem. He never wrote any sefer.
What?
Baal Shem didn't write any sefer.
Right, he didn't write any
views.
Right. Ki me'ez shehitir. He's going to explain that now. Ki me'ez shehitir Rabbeinu HaKadosh lichtav Torah Sheba'al Peh. Rabbeinu HaKadosh permitted the writing of Torah Sheba'al Peh. So how you call Adrachim Bichsav? All Jewish philosophy and thought was written, right? Yeah. Mashenkin, the Baal Shem Tov was not. He's going to say. He says, "Afhari."
Why didn't the Hashem write any sefer though? Just curious.
Well, we're going to talk about that now. So Afhari, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Devrach. Even the Arizal did not write who didn't write his farm, but they did write it. It says, "Shaloi Kasav Muma." He didn't write it, but Mikamakim Kasav Talmido HaKadosh Reb Chaim Vital. Zichron Devrach is HaKol. Reb Chaim Vital wrote everything down. Aval HaBaal Shem Tov HaKadosh v'Talmidav HaKadoshim loy kos b'mu'uma midarkim b'kodesh. The Baal Shem Tov and their Talmidim didn't write any of their drachim down. Even the Talmidim didn't write it down. Even the rebbes who followed him, all they did was they said Torah by their tish, and people wrote down maybe some of the divrei Torah they said, but they didn't write as an organized form a sefer on what is derech Baal Shem Tov. Ukefia nira haya came neshamayim. It would seem that this is what Hashem wanted. Sheishar derech zeh b'Torah Sheba'al Peh. That this derech of Baal Shem Tov should be left as orally transmitted.
Why?
So he's going to propose a reason now. It's va'ayin masha kasav b'siddur hatanya b'inyan ha'kafas. See what the Siddur Hatanya, the Baal Tanya's commentary on the Siddur, says about the Hakafas. So
it's the same with Siddur Hatanya.
It's a Siddur of the Baal Tanya with his nusach.
Tilas Hashem with the David.
Right. It's not the Tilas Hashem that they use in everyday use, because that doesn't have much of a pirush on it. But this is the original one with his whole unabridged commentary.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, this is the whole thing. And
how big is it?
It's a pretty big sefer.
Well,
a lot of comments in here. It's called Seder Tfilos Mikol Hashana Al Pi Nusach Arizal in Pir Shamilas Al Pi. I don't know what that stands for. But
what's it called, sefer officially?
It's called the Rav Siddur, the Baal Tanya Siddur.
I see.
So, if you take a look by the Hakafas, Simchas Torah, right before the Hakafas, he has a long piece, about 3 pages long here. It starts on page Reish Tamach Ches and it goes to page Reish Tamach Tes. And this page that we're looking at here is the last page of that shtickle. He's talking about the Hakafas and why is it. First of all, Hakafas are based on the idea of the Sechamayim, and the Sechamayim was in the Beis Mikdash. They also walked around the Mizbeach holding the Aravas. So all that is not beferish in the Torah. It's only Torah Sheba'al Peh. And the hakafas that we do today with the Sefer Torah is not even b'Torah Sheba'al Peh.
It's a zech that hakaf is done.
Right, but it's not written. The Gemara never mentions it. So it's interesting. We have
that means?
Well, it's all a minhag that we do today, and then there's nothing written in the Gemara about it. So the question is, why is that the case? So he says like
why
this.
Why wasn't there such a kind of made?
Why is it not written? You see, every year, every shul, every community does it, but you don't have it written in any sefer anywhere.
Remember what's written anywhere in Sukkah.
So take a look here at the end, the last paragraph. He says like this: "Inyan hakafas b'shmin yatzeres b'sefer Torah atzma." The inyan hakafas that we do together with the Sefer Torah today on Shmini Atzeres, hu b'shvil hamshachas makifin da'aba. This is some Kabbalistic idea that I don't know what it means. Shalamala mishiva samayim, and it's higher in spiritual level. It's higher than the shiva samayim, the mime of nisach hamayim, anal. V'hinei k'moishem mevur l'mayla hamshachas moichin da'aba eino el al yidei Torah Sheba'al Peh. Just like we said that the moichin da'aba could only be brought down through Torah Sheba'al Peh, davka. K'moichin k'dei lahamshich m'madrega hayoyster na'ala. In order to get this higher madrega of makifin da'aba, whatever that is, you have to have an even lower madrega of Torah. Because b'shah is like this: it goes zeh k'neged zeh, the opposite. The highest thing needs the lowest madrega of Torah to bring it into the world, because otherwise the light would be too strong for us. So he holds that Torah Shabbat Bichsav is too megula, it's too obvious, too open to everybody. Mashenkin, the Torah Sheba'al Peh is a little bit more hidden, and the highest thing of all, which is the hakafas, that has to be the most hidden. So therefore, it's not even Torah Sheba'al Peh. It can't even come through Torah Sheba'al Peh. Ella al yidei hayoyster namuch mimena. It can only come through something lower than Torah Sheba'al Peh. V'hu inyan haminag neviim be'akafas she'eino gam midivrei soifrim ella minag neviim bilvad. It has to be a minag that the neviim started and not written in Torah Sheba'al Peh. V'dai l'mevin. That's enough for someone who understands it.
I see. So yeah. So but how therefore like higher than Sheba'al Peh because they cover more hidden makar.
Right. So he wants to be Miramis, the rebbe, he wants to be Miramis that it could be that shot in Torah Sheba'al, the Torah Sabesh.
Why did he never wrote any books?
Because he never wrote it, and his Talmidim never wrote it because it was supposed to be a very, very hidden derech that was on a high madrega of Kabbalah.
Is that why the Arizal never wrote his paper either?
It could be the Arizal relied on his Talmidim to write it down, so it could be that's not why he didn't write it. I don't know. Anyway, V'loi nishar lanu. Back to the Sefer now. We have nothing remaining of the derech of Baal Shem Tov in writing. Only a little tiny bit. The things that we find that the Hasidic Rebbe said by their tish, in front of their Talmidim who were listening to them. That's what they said, and that was written down later, but not shot that they sat down to write a sefer and say, here's the derech of Baal Shem Tov, we're writing it out, in full. And it is known that when Chassidim, Tzadikim said Torah by their tish, they wrote it They wrote it according to the neshama of the people listening to them, Hashoimim, Oz Mashahem Tzrichim, but and you have to analyze whatever they say, Alma. What was the context of it? The El Miyad Dvarim Magim, and who were the listeners? Because things could be different according to who the people listening are. And that's really going to be the Rebbe's point, that anything you find in the Sifrei HaChasidim, Chasidish Sfarim, that they say things that may seem to be a proof to the attitude of those who join up with the Zionists. It really could be that they were saying it according to the times, according to the people who were listening to them. All right?
Yeah.
That's going to be his point in the coming siman.